This video is made possible by the EA Creator Network. We're going to jump right into it, and we got a lot to cover. I promise I'm going to go as slow, but also as efficient as possible. On the right, we're going to cover all the skill trees, cover over their abilities. We're going to hop in the range here. We're going to showcase the ones that are most important, that are most viable, that we can showcase, that are important to showcase, and we're going to jump into it. We're going to go Assault, Skirmisher, Recon, Support, and Controller. We're going to timestamp every single legend. We're going to give every single legend their time and love best we can, and now let's jump into it. Let's start with Bangalore. Well, if you are curious about how the Levolution works, I'm going to cover that in a different video.
Then Xena,
in this video
thanks for the
specifically,
12 months.
We're going to cover the skill tree. Again, I apologize to my
VMA,
voice,
it's 11.
off. A little sore yesterday, so if it sounds weird, trust me, I'm really excited. I'm just trying to keep my tone down so I don't hurt myself. Now, let's take a look here. This is Big Bang. Now, this one's pretty easy. You can see grenades through...
Johnny's the 41, Strife 11.
We don't have to talk about that. Now, this one is pretty big. Reduce ultimate cooldown by 25%. That's pretty huge. We don't have to talk about that. Now, this one is pretty big. Reduce ultimate cooldown by 25%. That's pretty huge. Now, Cover Me. This is one where it gets a little tricky.
That's from Blue Armor.
You can either choose to auto-ping enemies who trigger double time, or you can choose to regenerate HP while inside smoke.
Yeah, the other one's clearly way better.
Let's take a look at these. What we're going to do is we're actually going to level this up in the range whenever you actually go live with this. You can actually...
Guys, I'm not going to... You guys really deaf? You can't even hear like what he's saying? He's literally saying what the perks are. You don't have to see it.
Level up.
So he basically said 25% reduced cooldown on ultimate if he hits blue armor. If he hits purple armor, there's another one where it's basically you heal and smoke. Another one is fucking useless. Basically, the two good ones are reduced cooldown on ultimate, and then heal and smoke for purple armor.
Your armor. And if you're curious, you see the Evo here, and that's covered in a different video. And we're going to cover these abilities. So we got the cooldown here, and this one's going to be harder to showcase auto-ping enemies who trigger double time, so we're going to showcase the HP while in smoke, because that one makes a little bit more sense. Just to showcase. The other one, auto-pings, I don't have an example of that right now. Excuse me, and so we remember, it takes a second for it to hit, and there you go. I want to say it's around 35 to about 40 HP once everything is said and done. It does take a moment to hit.
That's pretty weak.
And once the smoke dissipates, then you no longer get the heal. The smoke is kind of here a little bit still, but the healing does stop. So that's important to really highlight. So that's everything when it comes to Bangalore. I recommend if you are a more passive Bangalore trying to provide cover, let's say you're playing with a Horizon, then Refuge is going to be more beneficial because you regenerate HP while inside smoke. If you're going to be entry fragger, Bangalore, pushing and shoving, then auto-ping an enemy who trigger double time so you can focus who that target is, especially if you're inside smoke, is definitely going to be beneficial. Now,
I think it's just Bangalore, not...
Old Fusey. These are a little more self-explanatory. Fuse definitely benefits from grenades, so if you don't have a lot of grenades, that makes sense to grab. You can see that through walls. We've seen that already in Apex, so I'm not going to cover that. Take 50% less damage and avoid slow effects from ult. This is really huge, especially if you're in aggro.
Wait, what?
Fusey. Now, you've seen that already in Apex, so I'm not going to cover that.
50% less damage and avoid slow effects from ult. So wait, he could just basically he's able to run in and out of the fucking ultimate completely.
Take 50% less damage and avoid slow effects from ult. This is really huge, especially if you're in aggro.
Short.
Easy.
25% less explosive damage. It's kind of useless.
Now you could take 25% less explosive damage.
Next thing's 41 months.
Self-explanatory, so we're going to show...
Short speed boost on a successful knuckle cluster hit. Okay, that's pretty good, I feel like. That's way better than another one.
Showcase the speed boost with the knuckle cluster. Now, if you miss it, it doesn't do any damage. But if it ticks anywhere, look at that speed boost. Now you can play entry frag Fuse.
Okay, that's kind of
even if you stick them. Remember, all you're looking for is one tick. You hit one tick, and then boom, you're all set. And you gain that speed boost. So it's like a permanent double time, especially. Let's take a look at the ult. If you get hit, remember it slows you before, you just barrel right through. Now, you do take a lot of damage. I mean, the ult for Fuse is pretty massive, but if you're trying to push somebody in, or you're trying to pick somebody out of it, this is a great way to mitigate that. So this is Fuse, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's move on. Let's take a look at Ash. Now, the interesting part with Ash is that you call out the number...
Call out the number of squads within... Okay, that's kind of
squads
useless.
within 150 meters after a squad wipe. Fortunately, this one's harder to showcase in the range, and somebody else does have...
Using marked for death tracks enemy position on map for 60 seconds. Okay, that's also just kind of useless now. Yeah, this is kind of useless.
Have this one. Mark for death tracks...
My food's here, chat. I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. So far, Ash is useless. Bangalore's perks are pretty underwhelming. Fuse seems broken. Fuse seems broken so far.
Enemy position on the map for 60 seconds. I can't really showcase because, you know, we're in the test
Imperial's
range, but now you
months.
kind of understand. This one's tricky. This one is pretty big if you're trying to avoid a third party, or if you're looking to fight. And this one, if you're trying to find opponents, maybe you're playing Edge. So you gotta have to decide.
Thanks for the 34 months, bro.
Probably would go for the number of squads within 150 meters after a squad wipe. I think that keeps your momentum, especially if you're playing aggressive Ash.
I agree.
But I guess if you're trying to play more passive, trying to find what fights are occurring and you're playing Edge of Zone, maybe this. I would probably go for a Murder Machine. This one's a little trickier, though. Lasting Snare. Arc Snare remains in play for 24 seconds to catch multiple enemies.
Remains in play for... Okay. You know, that Q is going to be... It's not going to be that crazy, I feel like, in 3v3s, but in the endgame, that's just going to be OP. In the endgame, an Arc Snare that you literally cannot even break, that sits on the ground for 24 seconds. And I'm pretty sure when you get Arc Snare, you also get, like, target, like, highlighted or something. I'm pretty sure. So, like, that's kind of insane for late game.
That one is pretty interesting. I tried this one, gain an Arc Snare charge, but the downside about this is that whenever I popped it, it was bugged in the test range and wasn't working. So I'm going to go with this one. This one will give you an extra Arc Snare charge, and you'll see that with other legends that it gives you an extra charge. Unfortunately, it just wasn't working for me. This is a specific build, and bugs do happen. Now, this will last for 24 seconds, which is insane. Now, what happens when you do the other one, it'll stack up. Now, when you click on them, it doesn't give it to you right away. Maybe other legends will, but what I've noticed on this, it doesn't give you the arc right away. So let's reset that. I'm going to showcase it. This lasts for an extremely long time. You don't have to sit here.
Wait, why not, Raven? What do you mean?
Here, just take my word for it that it just lasts forever. Let me show you the Arc Star or Arc Snare. Hit this, hit this. See how I have to wait for it still? I didn't get it back right away, even though I clicked on it. I didn't just instantly, boom, get the Arc Snare. So you have to wait for them. Even when I waited for them, I'm not going to waste your time here. Just trust me, in launch, it's going to work properly here. I'm in a test build. Please understand that. It didn't stack. So let's move on to Margaret. Now, this one's kind of cut off here. You gain a Riot Drill charge, reduce active duration by... I assume this is a certain specific time. I can't see it. So you gain a charge. You see how the charge is the same? This is very consistent. Just because you gain it doesn't mean you're going to gain the charge right away. While that charges in the background, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain the next a bit. And I'm going to show you that the other one is depth, increases by 1.5. A little bit of a change there. You auto-reload shotguns on Nox, pretty huge. And this is the one I'm going to showcase, because this one is more of a visual one. The Wrecking Ball catches fire, and on detonation, it blows up with thermites. This one works, so we got two. Now, keep in mind the duration's not long, but that pressure, not gonna lie, it's kind of nice. The drill already lasts a really long time, so that one looks... I would honestly probably choose this.
Bro, Maggie Fuse is gonna go fucking crazy. Bro, imagine Maggie Fuse on World's Edge. It's actually going to be impossible for anyone to be playing a truck or any type of small space. Like, you will literally just die every single time. It's literally impossible. Banning 28 months. Like, you literally can't play any truck in World's Edge. Because imagine, not only that, if Maggie is played by multiple teams or Fuse, anybody that's in the truck is literally going to get Maggie queued by like 6 fucking drills and just die. Just imagine that.
But pressure, because people run out of it really quick. I would definitely probably choose that one. Now let's showcase the Wrecking Ball, shall we? I would probably go with the Wrecking Ball more so. See, once it pops, it takes a second. Once it like builds up, and then there's going to be like a couple thermites. There it goes. Woo! Look at that. It's just like a cross right there. Now, sometimes it doesn't go in an exact cross. If it's on a wall, sometimes it kind of like gets stuck with 2 of them in a corner. But really great. This is if you're aggro Mad Maggie, and this one's still nice too. Keep in mind. But if you don't run a shotgun all the time, or you don't have a choice of a shotgun, a Wrecking Ball with thermites is absolutely insane. I get the feeling most people are going to run that, so I'm just going to run with that overall. Up next, this one's interesting. Can reveal care packages. This is essentially getting the skill set of a skirmisher and knowing what's in the care package. So we can't showcase that one. You can see ammo and death boxes. So you can see what's there from a distance. Unfortunately, you can't test this one in the test range. You're going to have to take my word for it how it works. But you can see that. Other legends have this ability, and we're going to kind of gloss over it. But it's not necessarily glossing over, just that you have an understanding of it.
Good one, Reeds. I was waiting for someone to say that. Good one, bro. Zetnix 15, you might have to run through your own thermite to push them. Yeah. It's probably worth it anyways, Raven, at that point, though. Like, they're stunned, you're just getting, like, it's like free kills, right? Shady, 28 months. I haven't seen a perk list or perk set where it's, like, debatable what's better, you know? It's, like, pretty obvious which one's better.
Up next, you can gain a Smart Bullet charge, or the Smart Bullet duration in World is tripled. Now, when it means World, it means whenever it exists like this. Let me show you. It has to exist in the world like this. It can work like a bit of an AoE, kind of like an arc snare if you're trying to bait somebody over. It'll last a triple amount of the time, okay? That's important to really highlight. Now, if it attaches to somebody, it doesn't last triple. Oh, no, man, we're talking about World. We're talking about it sitting there, right? Now, let's take a look at this again. And remember, same consistent thing here. Even though you click on it right away and you do upgrade it, you're not going to get that charge right away. You have to look at the bottom left, and you'll see that it's charging. So once it does, you're going to get 2 of these. Now, what you could do is fire it off a little sooner, and the next one will still come shortly after. See how the timer is not necessarily fully reset? You still have it there, so at least you kind of get a little bit of time. It's not too crazy, but hey, I mean, 2 charges. I would go for the 2 charges.
Ballistic is still useless.
Overlasting this in the world, unless you're playing more of a defensive ballistic. But having 2 of these is actually crazy. I would definitely opt for the 2. As we keep doing this, I'm going to give you my suggestions best I can, and we'll keep talking through it. This one's interesting. At the first one, we can't...
I'm surprised they didn't, like... This was, like, another perfect position where they could have buffed characters that are, like, just dog shit. Like, they could have buffed, like, Ballistic or buffed, like, a Mirage and stuff like that. Like, these dog shit characters... just with these perks, and they still like somehow to like level. You know, it's kind of the same way how they did with the class system, like how they try to emerge new characters into the game by creating a class system by giving them like a really OP class, like hitting the beacon or whatever it might be. They could have done the same thing with perks, but they just didn't do it. Like, they should give more OP perks for the characters that are, like, bad, like, in general.
Can't showcase this in the range. I'm going to stop saying that just so you guys understand. But you have the survey beacon, or you have a ring console. This...
Playing Zone with Pathfinder, though, is kind of, like, useless, though, isn't it? Like, what did you actually gain from playing Pathfinder in Zone? Like, you just get nothing, really. Dude, do you really gain anything out of that? Yeah, you also need blue armor. That's true. You're right.
This adds a lot of versatility to Pathfinder. Bringing either, are you going to play a Pathfinder that is going to scan beacons, or are you going to have one that rotates to zone? And you could choose here. If you decide to go for beacons, it might be better to get a grapple cooldown on reset. Because, I mean, once you get a knock, boom, you start pushing more. Or if you're going to go to zone, go for the zip line. Because it's energized for a short time, granting 25% reduction in damage while riding. And we're going to showcase that. So let's say we're going to play defensive. We go for the zip line. If you pop the zip line before you click this, you will not gain its damage reduction. Now, whenever you notice it is damage reduction on the zip line will appear as a blue hue. You ride it and you take 25% less damage while riding on this. Pretty cool. I think that's really, really neat. So, as a suggestion, if you're playing more aggro, get survey beacons to know where opponents are at, and grapple, cooldown, reset on knock. Especially, you get a knock and you got to reposition right away. You're playing zone, you got to help those rotations, then zipline, zen, and these two kind of go together. I know that most of the time it feels like it's supposed to be left and right, but sometimes it's not always the case. So let's go ahead and break down Wraith really quick. Wraith is a pretty straightforward, and we're going to highlight these though. The tactical cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds, or you could choose between passive triggers when nearby squad count increases. I'm going to go most of the time with the cooldown. I think most people would. If your squad is struggling with third parties, I guess you could go with this one. I don't know. This one is very circumstantial depending on how you play. If you're playing very aggro, pushing everything, you gotta avoid third parties. This is your best bet. Now the next one, reduce ultimate cooldown by 20%, or reduce wind up by 20%. Most of the time, Wraiths, I'm gonna be very honest, unless you're playing a competitive and you need your cooldown up all the time, you're most of the time gonna go for this. This kind of reverts back with a nice faster speed.
Boy, that's way better.
Let's go and revert that,
shall we? That is way better.
So you can take a look at a little bit of a before and after back there. I think this one's a little bit more important.
Augustin, thanks for 21 months. Ashes, a prime.
And then we'll add up the abilities again. Ready?
That is way better, but at the same time, like, I'm just wondering how hard is it to actually get the purple armor? I feel like it is not going to be, but that queue is way better now. Especially considering how, like, the guns are fucking nerfed to hell. Way harder to insta-kill a Wraith. Wenzo's 11 months. Alan, it's 11 months. Port cooldown is better. Well, I guess we're not playing Wraith.
Going to charge that back so you saw the before. Pull it back because we have our tactical. Faster. Noticeably faster. Very nice. If you are that Wraith that pushes and wants your old tactical back, you're watching this video and let's insert whatever you want to insert right there. I guarantee you're very happy. I assume most Wraiths are going to be very happy with the revert back here. This is nice. I mean, kudos to most Wraiths for that. Up next is Octane. Octane takes 25% less damage from stims, or you can take 25% less damage from explosives.
That's just going to be insane.
It depends how you use grenades, but most of the time you're going to take the less damage from stims, especially when you're using it a bunch. We need
25% less damage on explosive on Jordan, like at all times. That man is always just dying to grenades. I don't know how.
You see from the bottom left. Comparatively, I'm going to just heal up and just showcase that real quick. With the normal stim, look at that. Big difference. Of course, after the
Right.
This one's a little interesting on the bottom left. Comparatively, I'm going to just heal up and just showcase that real quick. With the normal stim, look at that. Big difference.
Yeah.
Of course, after the fact when you stim. This one's a little interesting, though. You can gain an extra launch pad charge, or you can change directions with the launch pad double jump. Now, the charge takes a second still. Now, what we're going to do is use a charge station over here just to get the second charge in there. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And boom. Let's take a look. You throw one. Let's say you're going to fly. You'll do a little tap strafe, throw it down again.
So double jump pad is
Even if you
meta.
miss it, don't miss like me. There you go.
Do you guys remember the double jump pad at the Harvester rotate? I don't know if we won that game, but you guys remember that? Now it's just 26 months.
Now, let's take a look at the other one, because the other one's a little interesting. I know I'm on mouse and keyboard, so I'm going to say that for everybody watching. This one's a little confusing, and it could be definitely utilized more for a tap strafe, because you can change directions with the launch pad double jump. Now, technically, you could do that if you can tap strafe. If you're on controller, this technically gives you what you're looking for. I'm going to give you an example. So I'm not going to tap strafe. I'm going to put down the jump pad, right? Oh, that's interesting. It looks different. And then you look. See how it goes that way? And you can still kind of tap strafed afterwards, but the jump pad is noticeably different. So for your controller friends who can't tap strafe and you want to go that direction, look at that. That's really cool, actually. Now, you can add a bit of a tap strafe in there. You see how oh, there we go. Now we're getting a little spicy with the movement. Look at that. So there is a little bit of benefit, even if, look at that, and you kind of gain that momentum still. And you can, if you were, and it's going to take a little practice, I can guarantee you, anybody, Moki, if you're watching this, will probably make a guide and video on this, explaining how we can abuse this movement tech. Guarantee. So, Moki, I'm looking at you. Hey, what's going on, guys? Everybody? I'm just kidding. I can't impersonate you. That's the best I got. All right. Well, that's really cool. If you're a controller, congrats. You now have a nice little directional pad movement there, and I like how the color's a little different. Pretty cool. Now, let's take a look at Revenant. Revenant's a little more straightforward. You can reduce the tactical cooldown by 5 seconds, or you can call it the number of squads within 150 meters after squad wipe. This is important because if you are playing with Ashe, then Ashe can choose the right one, and then Revenant can choose, I guess depending what you want to utilize, but you see how there's a little bit of crossover here? Overlap, communicate with your squad mates, don't use the same thing, because then you don't want to run into that problem. Now, the total, we're going to get this one for now. Just let's assume that Ashe gets this one. Total Shadow Pounce charge time reduced by 20%. That's full send, aggro. Attack refresh on knock. Go ahead and do full send. A little more straightforward. It's all about his tactical. And look at that. You got a reduction in time. That's nice. That's not bad at all. It's like I said, it's a lot more straightforward. Revenant is not necessarily the most exciting, but his kit is newer. His ultimate isn't buffed in any way. It's all mostly about the tactical, really. And pushing. I mean, this one's great. I would actually probably go for the tactical refresh. If you get a lot of knocks, go for kill throw. If you are somebody who waits patiently for the right fight, then I would go for the one on the left, just for deciding factors. Horizon's not the most exciting either, but it's still pretty cool. You can see grenades through walls.
Kind of the Revenant one is just like stupidly like cooldown, like stupid cooldowns, but nothing really crazy.
It's important, especially for
Nico is 35 months.
Ultimate. You don't have a hard time finding them. You can see ammo and death boxes. I'm gonna be honest, Big Bang. Probably what I'm gonna go with.
Dog shit.
Now you can reduce your cooldown by 5 seconds, or the ultimate cooldown by.
Horizon's dead. It's over. It's fucking over.
14%.
It's fucking over.
This one's a little tough. It depends on what you use. I mean, the tactical cooldown by 5 seconds. Listen, that's already pretty huge, especially if you keep going in and out. And the timing of this will pop a lot faster compared to, I guess it depends if you use the ult a lot more. But that timing of getting back your tactical so you can push again and have it, I'm probably going to go with the tactical more than likely than the ultimate. Because the ultimate, you usually use it once in a fight, and then it's not like you're going to have it up for the next fight. And if you're getting third party, you're not going to have it up fight again. And you can circumvent this by using accelerant. So just have a Watson in your squad or something.